Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a very occupied St. Barts. I don't know what the deal is with these jets, but I can't seem to get rid of them. I guess that's just the way it's gonna be, right? So let's go rotating beacon on mixture rich. Carb heat is cold. Master and battery switches on. There is no fuel pump. There's no avionics master. The fuel lever is on. Toes are on the brakes, even though we've got the parking brake set. Hope they don't start the engines, right? Alright, throttle is cracked. Take a quick look outside, make sure there's nobody out there to kill or maim. Alright, good start. Throttle back to 1200. Check the oil pressure. Oil pressure is looking good. Lean the mixture for taxi. Having strobe lights coming on. Let's release the parking brake. 122.8 is what we got. I'm pretty sure that's... yeah, there's no controllers right now. Alright. St. Bart's traffic. Cessna 4753 X-ray taxiing to runway 11 via 10 via taxiway Alpha. St. Bart's. So I did. Yep, and here we go. You know, I have to remind myself to turn ground vehicles off, which is really unfortunate because I love having ground vehicles. It adds so much to the sim when they're not driving down the middle of a runway while you're taking off or landing, you know. And this truck is inevitably going to do something stupid and illogical, and it's just such a drag, you know. It's just I just can't anymore. I just have to turn that off. And there you go, fire truck down the middle of the runway. Oh, okay. Alright, so I'll tell you about the purpose of today's flight as we get going. Purpose of today's flight initially is to avoid the fire truck. That's the initial purpose. Alright, landing light coming on. Mixture is rich. Carb heat is cold. I'm not going to do a short field takeoff, so I don't need any flaps. No traffic on the iPad. St. Bart's traffic, Cessna 4753 X-ray departing runway 10 left, downwind departure to the north. St. Bart's. So we'll get out of here. We use every bit of taxiway, every bit of runway rather that we can. No delay at St. Bart's because you cannot see behind you. I mean, you can't see behind you anywhere. But all right, heading indicator checks with the runway number. Takeoff power is coming in. Takeoff power is set. Airspeed is alive, oil pressure looking good, accelerating normally, and 65 knots, and off we go in the good old Cessna 152. A couple things that are not really working too well for me in this particular flight so far. I mean, look at that color and that livery, it's just stunning. You know, the truck down the center of the runway and the Carnival cruise ship in St. Bart's, like, they're just, you know, come on. Is it my imagination? We're getting some fluctuation on the RPM. Sounded like it was fluctuating quite a bit. Look at that. The trees just blow me away. It's one thing. I've got terrain level of detail at full, so you're seeing like St. Bart's in all of its glory right now. which I have to say I think looks absolutely amazing. So I can get away with 400 terrain level of detail quite well, actually. And it really does make a difference. I usually don't have it set for that, but alright, and we'll let the airplane level off here at 1,500 feet. So, the actual purpose, besides dodging fire trucks and cruise ships for this flight, is I watched my flight from Anguilla to Grand Casse from yesterday, and I realized, no, actually it was the landing in Grand Casse yesterday, and I was patting myself in the back on the video, and as is often the case, and one of the really useful things to me about being able to record sim flights and real flights, for that matter, so you can go back and have a look at what you did a little bit more objectively, right? Then you can perhaps, do in real time. And I'm going to be trimming for the rest of my life, apparently. Try to get this plane level. Let's see how much each button press moves that wheel. Not very much. And of course, here we go. Yes, we have flown over an amoeba, therefore.
Yeah, 51 is now final, runway 10, still 7 miles out.
But anyway, in reviewing my landing after the fact on video, I wasn't as impressed.
Julian, South Center Flight 510 is pushing back from Bravo 5 on taxiway Alpha 10, yeah.
I wasn't as impressed with my landing in retrospect as I was initially. And it's often little things with landings that really make the difference between a good landing and a bad landing, or a mediocre landing. And I did something that is just a sin. I mean, something you should truly never, ever do, which is that I pushed the nose down in the flare. That's a really good way to get the nose wheel to touch first and to get you porpoising. And my instinct was sort of to blame it on the physics and say, okay, well, the physics aren't that good, and so therefore that's why I performed poorly. But that's easy to say and not necessarily true. So therefore, I decided that I would come out here and give it another shot and see what we get. I would consider myself probably a bit of a perfectionist. When it comes to things, but I can handle a bad landing, right? What I can't handle is even a good landing that's the result of either luck or kind of getting away with something that you shouldn't get away with. Right? And I've been in an airplane that got porpoising, and I'll tell you what, it's an uncomfortable feeling, to put it mildly. And if you're wondering what I mean by porpoising, the other way it's referred to is wheelbarrowing. You know, where you get going like, oh, like you're literally bouncing the main gear and the nose gear, and just, you know, hit the nose gear, hit the main gear, go up in the air, come back down, hit the nose gear, come back up in the air, and you're just bouncing up and down off the nose wheel and the main gear, and it's no good. Grand Cast traffic, Cessna 4753 X-ray is 5 miles south of the field. They'll be making a left downwind runway 12 Grand Cast. It's no good. It's no good at all. And if I apply the correct techniques and get a bad landing, I can live with that. Like, you know, I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with applying. Let me put it this way: I'd rather apply or use a bad technique. No, I'm getting it backwards. I would rather use the correct technique.
Julian traffic, Frontier Flight 510, taxiing to runway 10, fire on the point Alpha, Juliana.
I'd rather use the correct technique and get a bad landing than use a bad technique and get a good landing. Right? Because one of those two things can be used again to improve what you were doing, right? Like, you can't use a bad technique to improve something. Like, your technique would have to be corrected in order for you to be able to in order for you to then get a better outcome. But if your technique is okay, is correct, and you just don't apply it correctly, or you just don't time it correctly, or whatever, so be it.
That's your 144, and they will now backtrack for runway 10 with vacate at Charlie or Delta.
So be it, right? Like, that's what practice is for. But there's no amount of practice using a poor technique that's going to get you a good result. And that's what I'm kind of thinking about as I'm doing this. And and it's really too bad I don't feel like climbing, because this airplane sure as heck does. No matter what I do, it will not level off. So my goal in this landing, let's set some goals here, because you gotta have goals. Number one is to look stylish, which we have already accomplished by using this livery. Right? Okay, so step one, mission accomplished. Step two, good airspeed control, which is I want to be coming down final at 65 knots. I want to cross the fence at between 55 and 60 knots. And look at those trees when you've got the full 400 LOD. It just looks stunning. Look at that. I mean, Grand Cast traffic, Cessna 53 X-ray left downwind runway 12 Grand Cast.
Julian traffic, Frontier Flight 510, landing up runway 105 Alpha, Juliana.
And we're gonna go carb heat on. That's your first power reduction in the trusty 152. So I want to come down final at 65 knots. I want to be And see, this is exactly what you want to get when you pull the carb heat. It's a nice 200 to 300 foot per minute descent rate. It's perfect for kind of the. This one's a little tricky because the downwind is so far wide, so much further out from the runway. But pulling the carb heat on will generally give you like just a gentle 200 foot descent rate. It's nice. So we want to be on airspeed. And the other thing I want is I want to get into the flare, and the key is to get into it without too much speed, because that's what's going to keep you from having to pull the nose up and ballooning when you do so.
Juliana traffic, Frontier Flight 510 on the roll, runway 10, we'll call airborne, Juliana.
Power back to 2000. Grandcast traffic, Cessna 53 X-ray turning a 2 mile left base, runway 12, Grandcast. Alright, we'll go 1 notch of flaps. And watch that power. That as you're pulling up the nose to slow the airplane down in a fixed pitch propeller airplane, that your RPMs are going to drop, so you have to keep an eye on that. So 65 knots on final, number 1.
Juliana traffic, Frontier Flight 510 is airborne passing 2000, Juliana.
And we want good airspeed control, 55-60 knots over the fence, which is going to allow us to hopefully pull that nose up without ballooning. Grandcast traffic, Cessna 53 X-ray turning a 2 mile final, runway 12, Grandcast. And eventually I'll get to the end of my plan, right? I gotta let that nose drop. And what I want to do is get into the flare, pull the nose up, and just hold it off. And I'm not going to be lazy and stay 400 yards to the right of center line. I'm going to correct back over. Okay. Airspeed is looking good. I'm a little bit high, but my ground speed rather is low, so I'm not too worried about it. It's gonna be a good crosswind. So we'll just kind of hang out right here. I think we're gonna be in relatively decent shape. Start paying attention. See how that vertical speed is plunging there? We don't want that, so we're going to add some power. The nose is going to come up, and then it's going to probably kind of continue its. No. I thought what was going to happen was it was going to come up and kind of stay up, level off. Do that. Alright. Yeah, we're getting a bit low. Look at that crosswind. Grandcast traffic, Cessna 53 X-ray short final, runway 12, Grandcast. So we got a nice crosswind, which is going to add to the fun here. Airspeed is good. Now we're getting a little closer in. We can bring that power back out. Expect a little bit of turbulence here. 60 knots. 60 knots is good. I'll bring that power to got power to 1500. Slow this airplane down a little bit. 60 knots. 55. Look at this crab. Look at this. Alright. No, see. I'm gonna hold it off. Left aileron. Nope. Didn't even hear that touch. You kind of landed a bit flat. Need that mixture for taxi. Grandcast traffic. Cessna 53 X-ray back taxi runway 12 Grandcast. And don't forget your crosswind corrections. The carb heat back in. So that wasn't an ideal performance, but given that crosswind in this airplane, not terribly disappointed in it. You know, could have done better, but again, not terrible. Grandcast traffic, Skyhawk, Cessna 4753 X-ray, clear the runway, Grandcast. And we're gonna be cool kids today and go over and park over here. By the fire truck. Oh, yeah. I don't know, maybe they're just washing them today, who knows, right? Landing light is off so we don't blind anybody. So, I mean, I feel like I kinda, achieved my goal. Not really. But you know what? It's all practice, right? Alright. Mixture idle cutoff, throttle is idle. Set the parking brake. Lights are coming off. Mags are off. Master and battery switches off. And let's open the windows because we can. How cool. So, and you think you're so cool and you left the flaps down. Alright, we'll just go casually inside the plane. Put the flaps up. Turn the battery off. Go back outside. So, it was a good flight. It was a good, good thinking process to go through. And on a day with a little bit better winds, we'll maybe have a better shot at it. But, tricky landing, scenario today with the crosswind, but we did pretty well. So, this is going to be it for me for the weekend. So I hope you guys are doing well, and we'll talk soon.